The first golden rays of sunlight stretched across the terracotta rooftops of ancient Jerusalem. Doves cooed softly atop the temple, and the hurried footsteps of townspeople echoed along the stone-paved streets. A peculiar excitement filled the air. For today, something extraordinary was about to happen. Jesus would enter Jerusalem. People gathered from every direction, bringing fresh palm branches and an eagerness they could not hide. They crowded the walkways, hoping to catch a glimpse of the one rumored to be the Messiah, the healer of the sick, the performer of miracles, the preacher of unconditional love. And then, under the gentle morning light, he appeared, not riding a majestic horse like earthly kings, but seated humbly upon a young donkey, a symbol of peace and meekness. The crowd erupted in cheers, rolling like ocean waves. Hosanna to the Son of David! Hosanna in the highest! They spread their cloaks on the road, laid down green palm branches to honor him. Jesus smiled tenderly, his eyes filled with a love deeper than the sea. Yet deep within, he knew the road ahead would not be lined only with flowers and songs. It would lead through darkness, suffering, and the greatest sacrifice. Still, he did not falter. For love's sake, he was ready to walk the entire path. Evening descended upon Jerusalem, dyeing the ancient stone walls a deep crimson. In a small upper room, the warm glow of an oil lamp illuminated familiar faces gathered close together. Jesus sat among his disciples. His eyes radiated profound tenderness, yet carried a quiet sorrow. For he knew the hour of parting was near. In that sacred silence, Jesus took bread, broke it, and gave it to each disciple, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body given for you." Then he took a cup, gave thanks, and offered it to them, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, poured out for the forgiveness of many." His words flowed into their hearts like a sweet yet sorrowful stream. They could not fully comprehend what was about to unfold, but deep within, each felt it. Something momentous and sacred was drawing near. As the whispers of prayer faded, the night closed tightly around them. A seemingly simple meal became an eternal covenant, a promise of redemption sealed by the very life of Jesus himself. After supper, Jesus led his disciples out of the city, down quiet streets, toward the Garden of Gethsemane, a silent grove beneath the shadow of ancient olive trees. The night deepened. The wind whispered coldly through the leaves. In the sacred stillness, Jesus knelt, his face pressed to the ground, and prayed earnestly, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." The anguish of his prayer was so intense that his sweat fell like drops of blood. He knew he was about to face utter loneliness, cruel humiliation, and a shameful death upon a cross. As he rose to his feet, torchlight flickered in the distance. A mob of soldiers approached, swords and clubs in hand, led by Judas, the disciple who once walked beside him, who had been loved so dearly. Judas stepped forward, the silver coins of betrayal chilling his hand. He leaned in and placed a kiss on Jesus' cheek, the prearranged sign to identify him. Jesus looked at Judas, not with anger or bitterness, but with heartbreaking sorrow. "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" In that moment, the whole garden seemed to hold its breath. Then, rough hands seized Jesus, binding him, dragging him away into the darkness. The beginning of the sorrowful road where his love for mankind would be revealed in its fullest glory. Jesus was led through the narrow streets of Jerusalem, where curious eyes and murmuring voices followed his every step. He was brought before the religious leaders, and then before the Roman governor. Pilate, men who, out of jealousy and fear, were willing to condemn the innocent. Under the pressure of the shouting crowds, Pilate washed his hands of the matter and handed Jesus over to the Roman soldiers. They scourged him, pressed a crown of sharp thorns onto his head, and mocked him as King of the Jews. Blood streamed from his brow, staining his pain-stricken face. Yet his love remained unchanged. Forced to carry the heavy cross upon his shoulders, Jesus walked through the jeering crowds, each agonizing step a declaration. He was bearing the sins of all humanity. At Golgotha, they nailed him to the cross. The hammer blows echoed beneath the blazing noon sky. The hands that had healed, the feet that had carried good news, were pierced through with cold iron nails. Suspended between heaven and earth, Jesus cried out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Though betrayed, mocked, and tormented beyond measure, his love did not falter. From the cross, he gazed down upon mankind with eyes full of forgiveness, offering a love greater than any human could comprehend. At the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "It is finished," and with that, he bowed his head and breathed his last. The earth shook. The veil of the temple was torn in two. Stones split apart. It was as if all creation wept for the one who had sacrificed himself out of redeeming love for humanity. 3 days had passed since Jesus breathed his last. A heavy sorrow hung over those who loved him. They mourned in silence, feeling as though the whole world had been swallowed by darkness. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dim, Mary Magdalene and a few other women made their way to the tomb, carrying spices. Their hearts were weighed down with grief, each step heavy with sorrow. But when they arrived, they were stunned. The great stone sealing the tomb had been rolled away. The tomb was empty. Jesus was no longer there. As they stood in awe, 2 angels appeared before them, their garments gleaming like the first rays of dawn. One angel spoke, "Do not be afraid. You seek Jesus, who was crucified. But he is not here. He has risen, just as he said." Their astonishment erupted into indescribable joy. Mary ran to tell the disciples the news, and at that moment, Jesus himself appeared to her. He called her name in a voice so familiar, so tender, like the warmth of sunrise. "Mary." She turned, tears streaming down her cheeks, and cried out, "Teacher!" The one who had died was now alive. Death was no longer the end. Darkness had been conquered by light. Despair had been overcome by eternal hope. The resurrection of Jesus marked a new beginning, the glorious proof that love could surpass every boundary, even death itself. The news of Jesus' resurrection quickly spread, lighting sparks of hope within the hearts of the disciples. Some still doubted, some were bewildered. But then, one by one, they met him, the risen Lord, the conqueror of death. Jesus appeared to 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus, walking with them, opening the scriptures to their understanding. He appeared among the disciples in the locked room, breathing the Holy Spirit and peace upon them. He invited Thomas to touch his hands and side, dispelling all doubt. And by the shores of Galilee, he gathered his disciples around a simple fire, gently asking, "Do you love me?" He did not reproach their failures, nor remind them of their mistakes. He asked only of their love, because love was both the beginning and the goal of everything. With that boundless love, Jesus entrusted them with a new mission. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. The resurrection of Jesus was not merely his victory. It was a victory for all who believe. A love that never dies. A hope that never fades. An eternal promise that no matter how deep the darkness, his light will triumph. Today, as we look upon the cross, as we embrace the light of resurrection, we know true love never fails. True hope never dies. And the greatest gift has been given, for you, for me, for all humanity.